Today's lesson is Simone Biles, a champion in more ways than one. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to continue talking about Simone Biles. She is an American gymnast, and she was quite successful with gymnastics in the past, and she kind of disappeared there for a while, but she has returned, and she's doing quite well. And last time we talked about her life and times. Remember, she's from Columbus, Ohio, but she did not have a stable childhood. Her parents could not take care of her, so she was eventually adopted by her grandparents, who did provide her with a stable home life. And she started her success in gymnastics at a very young age. She took part in an elite competition when she was just 14. And then she took part in the 2012 U.S. National Championships, and she got a spot on the U.S. Junior National Team. And also in 2013, she won her first all-around championship at the World Championships in Antwerp, Belgium. And, of course, she had many more successes after that, which we'll talk about in today's program. So let's get to it. Let's listen to the first part, and we'll be right back.
In the years that followed, Biles seemed all but unstoppable. At the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics alone, for example, she won 4 gold medals. But even the most dominant athletes are bound to face some obstacles.
大家好，第一部分我们来介绍片语 be bound to， 它的意思是必将会……或是一定会……例如You're bound to make a lot of new friends when you start going to the new school. 你去那间新学校就读时，一定会交到很多新朋友。又或者说 If we don't hurry up, we're bound to be late. 如果不赶快的话，我们一定会迟到。
So now we're going to look at the latter part of Simone Biles' career. In the years that followed 2013, Biles seemed all but unstoppable. She had all of these successes, and it seemed like her career was going to continue to grow. So here we have the phrase all but unstoppable, and all but simply means almost completely. Her career seemed almost completely unstoppable. At the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics alone, for example, she won 4 gold medals. But even the most dominant athletes are bound to face some obstacles. So even though she won 4 gold medals at the 2016 Olympics, still she ran across some problems. Even the most dominant athletes are bound to face some obstacles. Here, dominant athletes refers to athletes who are the most powerful, the most important. And of course, Simone Biles is a dominant athlete because she has won so many medals and so many competitions. And even she is bound to face some obstacles.
So here we've got the phrase to be bound to. That means something is likely to happen. For example, if you don't study for your tests, well, you're bound to fail them. It's probably very likely that you'll fail those tests if you don't study for them. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to the second part.
In 2018, Biles revealed that she was one of the victims of Larry Nassar, a former USA gymnastics physician who was sentenced to decades in prison for sexually assaulting hundreds of young gymnasts. A few years later, at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, performance anxiety forced Biles to withdraw from several events to prioritize her mental well-being. Her decision resonated globally, shedding a powerful light on athletes' mental struggles. Upon returning to competition in 2023, Biles quickly showed that her struggles in Tokyo were only a temporary setback. At the World Championships, she not only wowed spectators with that Yurchenko double pike, but also won her 6th all-around world championship.
第二部分先看到动词 assault， 它的意思是攻击或是袭击。例如 The police are searching for a man who assaulted the woman last night. 警方正在搜寻昨晚攻击那名妇人的男子。或是 The criminal planned on using the cover of darkness to assault his next victim. 那名罪犯打算利用黑暗的掩护袭击下一个受害者。 接下来是动词 prioritize， 这个单字的意思是优先考虑，或是决定点点点的优先顺序。举例来说， The candidate claims that he will prioritize the benefits of women, children, and elders. 候选人声称他将优先考虑妇女、儿童以及老人的利益。又或者说， Vincent prioritized his to-do list. Vincent 依重要性排列他的待办事项清单。接着我们看到名词 well-being， 它的意思是健康、安乐或是福祉。例如， My mom is always nagging me, but I know she's really just concerned about my well-being. 我妈总是对我唠叨，但我知道她只是关心我的健康。或者， This past week, Trevor lost both his job and his girlfriend, so we're all quite concerned about his emotional well-being. 过去一周 Trevor 双双失去工作和女友，所以我们都很担心他的情绪是否安好。再来介绍片语 shed, cast 或是 throw light on something， 指的是使人清楚了解点点点，或是阐明点点点。例如， Some of the latest discoveries in space help shed light on questions that scientists have had for centuries. 近来在外太空的新发现，让科学家困惑了几世纪的问题得以明朗化。或是， These customer surveys should cast light on the pros and cons of the services we offer. 这些顾客调查应该能清楚显示我们所提供服务的优缺点。再看一个例子， The article throws light on the president's new tax plan. 这篇文章清楚说明总统的新税制计划。
In 2018, Biles revealed that she was one of the victims of Larry Nassar, a former USA gymnastics physician who was sentenced to decades in prison for sexually assaulting hundreds of young gymnasts. So something very serious happened in 2018. Biles told everyone that she was a victim of this former USA gymnastics physician named Larry Nassar. So a physician is a doctor, simply a medical doctor, and this medical doctor was assigned, or his duty was to be the doctor of all of the gymnasts in the US gymnastics team, and this person was sentenced to decades in prison. When a person is sentenced to years in prison or to a particular punishment, it means that the judge has decided that this person is guilty of a crime, and this judge passes a sentence or decides what the punishment is for that criminal. And Nassar was sentenced to decades, many, many years in prison because he sexually assaulted hundreds of young gymnasts.
And again, he's a physician, or at least he was a physician. That's just a fancy way of saying he was a medical doctor. And he was sentenced to prison for assaulting those young gymnasts in a sexual way. So if you assault somebody, you do something physical to them. You cause physical harm to those people. And he sexually assaulted lots of these young gymnasts. And a person who performs gymnastics is called a gymnast. And he got away with it for quite some time. Eventually, he got caught and he was sentenced to prison. So that means the law, a court, a jury gave him this as a punishment. He was sentenced to decades in prison. We could say the murderer was sentenced to death and he was executed by a firing squad. But again, he has to spend 20, 30 years in prison for what he did. And a few years later, at the 2021 Tokyo Olympics, performance anxiety forced Biles to withdraw from several events to prioritize her mental well-being. So remember, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Tokyo Olympics were supposed to take place in 2020, but they were postponed for 1 year, and I believe they were still called the 2020 Olympics, even though they took place in 2021, but still people do refer to the Olympic Games as the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. And she had this performance anxiety. So for some reason, she was unable to perform. She had this anxiety. She was scared to perform. So she withdrew from the competition, or at least from several of the events.
Right, so performance anxiety refers to an extreme feeling of nervousness that you experience before or during your participation in an activity. like performing in front of an audience. And it's implied here that Simone Biles had this performance anxiety as a result of having been sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar, because this physician was violent to the gymnasts, including Simone Biles. And because of this very, very tough experience, she developed performance anxiety, and she was forced to withdraw from several events to prioritize her mental well-being. So when you withdraw from something, you stop taking part in that thing. You stop taking part in an activity. So I could say, for instance, that an injury forced the athlete to withdraw from the competition. But here, Simone Biles withdrew from several events in order to prioritize her mental well-being. When you prioritize something, you treat that thing as being the most important thing that you want to deal with. And for Simone Biles, the most important thing to her at that moment was her mental well-being. So it wasn't winning, it wasn't being the best, it was her mental well-being. And well-being simply means the state of being happy and healthy. And evidently she wasn't happy, she didn't feel like she was mentally healthy, and she wanted to develop good mental health, and that became her priority. As a result, she withdrew from several events.
And her decision resonated globally, shedding a powerful light on athletes' mental struggles. So it resonated globally. To resonate just means to kind of vibrate, and you can feel it all over the place. You've got this sound everywhere. The sound of a foghorn, for example, could resonate across the water or the ocean. You could hear it from a long ways away. And yes, indeed, lots of people related to this. I'm sure lots of athletes understood what she was going through. Yes, we go through that as well. So that shed a powerful light on athletes' mental struggles. I think I heard the same thing from Naomi Osaka. She had a similar situation as well. She was under a lot of pressure, and she decided to withdraw from some competitions as a result of that. If you shed light on something, that means you reveal something, you let people know about something that they did not know about before.
Right. So, for instance, you might discover new information that sheds light on something that you didn't know before, that shed light on a mystery or a criminal case. So sometimes evidence found by the police can shed light on a case that has not been solved yet.
Okay, let's move on now to the next paragraph here. It says, upon returning to competition in 2023, Biles quickly showed that her struggles in Tokyo were only a temporary setback. So upon returning, that means when she returned to competition or as soon as she returned to competition in 2023, which was just last year, she quickly showed that her struggles in Tokyo were just temporary. They were only a temporary setback. Here we've got the word setback. That just means you stop moving forward and you start moving backward for a little bit. For example, if your company is developing a product and it's selling quite well, but then, there's a problem with it, you have to recall that item. That's a setback for your product or for your company, and you need to do something about it.
And at the World Championships, she not only wowed spectators with that Yurchenko double pike, but also won her 6th all-round world championship. So, in other words, she wowed spectators, meaning she surprised all of the audience members who are watching her perform. That's what wow means. When you wow the audience, you do something that really impresses the audience. And here we have the word spectator, which refers to those people who are watching a sports competition. So spectator has a similar meaning to audience member. However, we use spectator usually for sports. We wouldn't use spectator for concert performances or for theater performances.
Yeah, that would be the audience. And of course, we've got spectators or people who are fans of gymnastics. And she was able to wow them or to impress them with that Yurchenko double pike. And again, she also won her 6th all-around world championship. So she returned in style. And again, she's all but unstoppable. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to the third part, and we'll conclude our article.
Having won 37 Olympic and World Championship medals in all, Simone Biles may be the greatest gymnast of all time, but her impact has transcended her athletic achievements. As both a resilient survivor of sexual abuse and a champion of mental health, Biles has inspired people worldwide, making her not just an athletic icon, but a true beacon of hope and empowerment.
最后第三部分看到动词 transcend， 这个动词指的是超越或是超出。举例来说， The swimmer was able to transcend her limits in the final race to bring home the gold. 那名泳将得以在决赛中超越自己的极限，抱回金牌。最后一个例子 Sexual harassment is a problem that transcends sex, age, and race. 性骚扰是一个超越性别、年龄和种族的问题。
Having won 37 Olympic and World Championship medals in all, Simone Biles may be the greatest gymnast of all time, but her impact has transcended her athletic achievements. So, first of all, we know that she has won 37 Olympic and World Championship medals in all. In all means in total. That's how many medals she has won in total, which is 37, and she is considered the greatest gymnast of all time. Here, the phrase of all time means that has ever existed. So people say that Simone Biles is the greatest or maybe the greatest gymnast that has ever existed.
Exactly, and people may debate this. Was she actually better than Olga Korbut or Nadia Comaneci, who were some famous gymnasts from the past? But I think Simone Biles will be considered the best of the best because she's still going strong, and she may be considered the greatest gymnast of all time, of all history, and her impact has transcended her athletic achievements. So here we've got the word transcend, which means to go beyond something, to go beyond the range of something, to transcend death, for example. Everybody's looking for a way to transcend death. How can we live forever and not have to die like we all know we have to do someday? Yes, in this particular case, her impact has transcended her athletic achievements. So yes, indeed, she has been quite successful with gymnastics, but she's even more successful as a person in the world to have overcome those obstacles and those difficulties. So she could be lots of people's hero.
That's right. So Simone Biles is truly inspirational and influential because we know that she is an excellent athlete. She has won so many medals and competitions. So athletic achievement refers to all of the things that she's done, all of her successes as an athlete, because the word athletic here is an adjective that describes an athlete. So I could say, for instance, that I have no athletic talent because I can't jump high, I can't run fast, so it's better that I don't take part in any athletic competitions. But Simone Biles isn't just famous for her athletic achievements. Her impact has transcended those achievements because she has also been inspirational in the way that she has prioritized her mental health. A lot of people don't talk about these things, so regular people who are not athletes, who are not famous, perhaps don't realize that it's important to prioritize your mental health, to take care of yourself. But with people like Simone Biles as a role model, regular people are beginning to realize that it's important to take care of how you feel and what you think and not to neglect those aspects of yourself.
Yep, so she's not only a successful athlete, but she has been a resilient survivor of sexual abuse. If you're resilient, you're able to return back to your original form. Yes, she was affected by that, but she came back strong. She's also a champion of mental health, so she lets people know that, hey, it's okay to feel that you're under pressure and that you need to withdraw from competition every once in a while to concentrate on your mental well-being. There's nothing wrong with that. And Biles has inspired people worldwide, all over the world, not just in the United States. And that makes her not just an athletic icon, but a true beacon of hope and empowerment. An icon here is just something that represents something else, like on your computer screen or on your smartphone, you've got all sorts of icons there. But here an icon could be an image that you look up to, a person or thing that you respect and that you admire. And a beacon, of course, is a kind of light that is used to show people the way home. So yes, it can be a beacon of hope, and everybody can look up to her if you have desires to be famous in gymnastics or sports, or if you want to survive some kind of abuse by other people. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始写到 In the years that followed, Biles seemed all but unstoppable. 在接下来的几年 Biles 看似势不可挡。那这边要介绍的是 all but 的用法。All but 可以表达几乎差不多的意思，相当于 almost。 那这时候呢，可以把它视为副词，后面可以接动词或是形容词。就像课文里面它是在 all but 后面接形容词 unstoppable。 Unstoppable 是形容无法阻挡的或是挡不住的，所以呢 seemed all but unstoppable 就可以表达看似势不可挡的语义。我们再举一个 all but 接形容词的例子，像 all but certain 表示几乎肯定的。所以如果我们说 the team is all but certain to win， 就是说那一队几乎肯定会赢了。好，那我们也造一个 all but 接动词的例句。In one interview, he said he had all but given up at one point. 在一次访谈中，他说他一度几乎要放弃了。好，那么另外补充一下 all but 后面接名词时，可以表达除了点点点之外，全都怎么样。那么 all 在这个用法当中是当代名词，是指全体。那么 but 则是介系词，表示除了，相当于 except。所以如果是 all but one of the dishes had been finished， 就是表达除了一道菜，其他全都被吃完了。好，那么课文第二部分有一句提到 Biles 于2023年一重返赛场，就迅速展现了他在东京的挣扎只是暂时的挫折。文中是用到 upon returning to competition 来表达一重返赛场就怎么样怎么样。好，那当我们用 upon 或者是 on 加上名词或动名词，逗号主词加动词，像这样的句型可以表达一怎么样就怎么样。好，那么 upon 或是 on 加上名词或动名词，这部分可以摆在主要子句之前或是之后。那只是要特别注意，如果我们是接动名词，也就是说如果用 upon 或是 on 加动名词的时候，动作的主词必须跟主要子句的主词一致。例如 Pam burst into tears on hearing the news. Pam 一听到消息就突然哭了起来。那例句里面的 on 后面是接动名词 hearing， 那这个动作的主词就是 Pam， 跟我们主要子句的主词会是同一个人。好，那另外也有一些常见的句型可以用来表达一怎么样就怎么样，像是As soon as 加上主词加动词，逗号主词加动词，那其中的 as soon as 也可以改用 once, the minute, the moment 等等来引导时间副词子句。举例来说 I'll text you once I get there， 或者是 as soon as I get there, the minute I get there， 这些都可以。那意思就是说我一到那里就会传讯息给你的。好，那以上今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Dominant.This company is currently the most dominant in the sportswear market. Physician. Terrence's physician suggested that he eat more vegetables. Assault. I saw a man assault another man in the street last night. Withdraw. The athlete withdrew from the competition after she injured her knee. Setback. After many setbacks, he finally succeeded in becoming a children's book author. Spectator.The spectators were surprised when the tennis player walked off the court in the middle of the match. Athletic. Sam's amazing athletic ability has earned him numerous awards. Icon. Marilyn Monroe was a 1950s Hollywood icon.
Discussion Starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The question is, do you think Simone Biles was right to prioritize her mental health during the 2021 Olympics?
I think it would have been better if she had continued competing instead of withdrawing from some competitions because she has a lot of fans and she shouldn't let her fans down and deprive them of seeing her perform.
Well, I think she was right to make her mental health a priority because she was able to concentrate on her mental well-being and she was able to come back and compete again. So in both ways, she actually was able to improve her personal condition, but also to satisfy her fans worldwide. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.